Mm, Councillor McCrae's recommendation and Councillor Volk's comments. The lesson for me for this particular one is to be careful on voting and supporting anything in which we have no legislative mandate. And for me as an individual councillor going forward, when we do have delegation that want us to support or whatever on something that we have no authority over, I'm certainly going to be thinking twice and very carefully in the future. So that's my comment, and I agree with Councilor McCrae's recommendation.
Thank you. Councilor McCrae.
To you, Madam Mayor, I think at a municipal level, we're going to see more and more of these types of delegations coming forward. Basic income is an example, rental review and rates is another one I see flying online right now. Our communities are grasping at straws, attempting to make ends meet to deaf ears at the provincial and federal level. And so they're reaching out to our municipal representatives. And basically what used to be top down, and as our deputy mayor has stated before, so much is being downloaded onto municipalities. I think what's happening now is you're seeing community like grassroots community types of situations are now coming to municipalities with the hopes that we as representatives will take this to provincial. So it's the pyramid is kind of turned.
Is there anyone else? Councilor Bird.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I was going to second Councilor McCrae's motion, but I'm just thinking if we do, and I very much agree with Councillor Woodfield that we should all be driving in our own lanes, not spending so much energy on stuff that we could have no impact on. Having said that, will we still be in the same position if we do have you meet with the provincial representatives, possibly the federal representatives? Still, if we go forward with the letter, we either do it or we don't. That's the question now.
Councilor McCrae, last comment.
At least we'll be making an informed decision.
So, this motion has no seconder at the moment.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. My question would be, do we actually want to defer this for further information, which creates more work for our staff? Or do we simply want to defeat the motion? I read the background information from Laura, I can't remember her last name. And I think if someone had said we moved too quickly on this one, it's a matter of regulating over-the-counter vitamins and so on, and some of them, even though they say natural, I think this myself, if it's natural, then it's safe, which isn't necessarily the case. So, I would ask Councilor, yes, Councilor Wall.
Your worship, I agree with what you're saying. I guess the whole point is if we want to make the motion, as Councilor McCrae has stated, we'll be able to make an informed decision, we'll have more clarity. I do agree with you though, that if in fact, as a fellow councillor has said to me, we have absolutely no bearing on the outcome of this, other than if we send a letter to our MP, is that going to instill in him even more tenacity to go ahead with it when he's already decided he wants to go ahead with it? So I think we're talking about a moot point if we go forward with it. And I ask, is that where you're going with this?
I see your point. So I will call for the vote on the motion to defer. Those in favor? Those opposed? Opposed. Okay. So the next is the sale of the first corridor. I have a pecuniary interest in this one, so I'll leave the chambers until the vote is called.
Sure.
I'm just staying here, Judy, just so you know. About that. So moved by Councilor Anna McRae, seconded by Councilor Jim Bolt. Whereas the committee of the whole received report 2024 CAV 2.11 process for selling of Earthmore corridor lands in the meeting held on January 16, 2024. Whereas the most prudent action for council to take regarding the Earthmore corridor lands would be to sell in parts to adjacent property owners. Now therefore be resolved, the Council of Town of Perth direct staff to begin the process required to sell the property known as the Earthmore corridor in parts to the adjacent property owners in accordance with bylaw 4549 as amended. Discussion, Councilor Waterford.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to our clerk, I would request that this be a recorded vote.
Further discussion. Councilor Byrd.
Yes, thank you through the chair. At CAL, after discussion and my particular concern about start seeking proper legal advice and see if we can get a guarantee as to use and access of land that is owned by someone else other than ourselves. And how in perpetuity or whether it's enforceable or we can limit what they do with the land. I am at this point at the feeling that we settled this to the mutual dissatisfaction of the two most interested sets of parties. We declared it an easement. We didn't go either way on it. I cannot go forward on this because I'm not prepared at the end of the day to reverse that decision by council. And we would, if we go ahead with this, be coming down on one side of the argument in favor of it, which we avoided doing by keeping it open as an easement. We'll be coming down on one side of it, and it will only create further problems down the road for us and for the people living near it if we do that. So, heads up, I'm changing my vote. We'll be voting against proceeding with this.
Councilor Bolt.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So through you, I totally disagree with my fellow councilor in that respect. I think what we're doing, what we're trying to do here is put some closure on something that we've already enacted. We already decided to close it. It's closed, the barriers are up. All we're trying to do is to by selling the adjacent lands to the majority of the landowners who are directly affected by it, we're bringing closure to the whole thing. And we're washing our hands of having to deal with it in the future. With respect to being able to get across the property for repair to underground switches or whatever's down there, we've already had confirmed that there are easements that will allow us to do that, just like there's easements on many other properties throughout this town. So I respectfully disagree with the comments that we made.
Thank you. Do I get a chance at the vote check?
I'll just let Councilor McRae go ahead. She had her first.
2 points. First one is that this property, in order to move forward with with any type of a corridor, you might call it, would need to be accessible. And the only way it could be accessible would be to buy properties from the people living on both sides of it. And the likelihood of that ever happening is almost impossible with what those people have gone through. So that's one point I want to make. The other one is that we did go for legal advice on this particular situation, and we were told to move forward. And that's why I brought this motion forward at the last meeting. And I agree completely with what Councillor Bolt is saying. Within this, the provisions of this motion, there can be provisions made for for access to do any types of repairs and that type of thing.
Councilor Byrd.
Yes, thank you through the chair. The matter was settled by council, it was resolved, and it was that this would be an easement. And that was it, that was the decision. We have reopened it, and we will be taking a side. One position or another. Whether you'd like to admit it or not, that's the fact of the situation. We did settle it.
So I don't put our CEO on the spot, but we own a corridor in Perth. We've closed it. You can call it whatever you want. Easement, right away, sidewalk, pathway, parkway, doesn't matter. It's a piece of property that Town of Perth owns and we've closed it. And now we've decided we're going to sell part of the pathway or the corridor or the easement or whatever you want to call it. So that's what we're discussing here today. So the issue of what do you want to call it is dead. We're deciding now, do you want to sell the adjacent parts of land to the homeowners who are adjacent and the most affected? That's the question on the table. So if there's, the clerk has a question?
Just through you to as the chair, can you just confirm the mover and seconder, given that you're the chair?
The mover
Yes,
was
Jim.
Councilor McRae, second by Councilor Bolton. Any further discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll have the clerk call the question.
Motion of Deputy Mayor Person,
Aye.
Councilor Byrd,
Nay.
Councilor Bolt,
Aye.
Councilor McCray,
Aye.
Councilor Smith,
Nay.
Councilor Waterman.
Nay.
No. Sorry,
How does it pass?
sorry, I,
It's time, sorry, last, time, well, it's lost.
Next item is under bylaws, the staff report, the conditional sale of 462 Street. Could I ask for a mover or seconder first? Councilor Waterfield?
Proposed motion be it resolved that the council of the town of Perth pass bylaw number 5155, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement of purchase and sale and all necessary documents to complete the sale of lands being parts 1 and 2 on 27R-12272, being part of PIN 05183-0108 LT, municipally known as 63 Halton Street, to Mills Community Support Corporation, operating as Carabridge Community Living, at a purchase price of $1 and subject to the terms and conditions outlined as presented in report 2024 Council 5.1.
Thank you. That was seconded by Councilor McCray. Does anyone wish to comment, Councilor Bolt?
Your Worship, I will not be supporting this motion, for the very simple reason why I didn't support it initially. And that is to say that I think that having met with the adjacent landowners and have seen the proposed structure that is to be built, I agree with most of them that 15 units is way too much for this property. I just believe that it should be developed in some other way, so it would be in keeping with the original agreement. So for that reason, I will not be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I originally wasn't supporting the idea of what we're trying to accomplish for different reasons, but I've probably spent more time on this issue in the last month and a half than I have a lot of stuff on council. I've spoken to legal advice 3 times on this issue. I've spoken to the residents. I've spoken to the mayor of Smith Falls. I attended the recent open house in Smith Falls, the affordable housing building. It was just opened up. I talked to the people there in Smith Falls who promoted that church group. My experience on county council with Carabridge is a wonderful outstanding outfit to run and help us out with affordable housing. You know how I feel about Samira Group. Anything they put their hands to is an outstanding buildings. They do great work. So there is no reason not to support this issue. I realize the residents are not happy and they're worried about the land use agreements, forget the actual term of it, open.
Common space.
Common space. I get their concerns. If we don't deal with this issue now and look at these type of issues now, it's only gonna get much more difficult in the future, especially with all the changes in planning that are coming forward and the amount of public input there's going to be in this. Carabridge has made it quite clear they're going to work with the residents that are affected in the area to provide, hopefully build the building that will have the least impact on the people, but I don't have a reason as a councillor to vote no against this motion, so I'll support the motion.
Anyone else? Councillor Hurd.
Thank you through the chair. We do as councillors have a responsibility for people living in the quality of life in their homes. Again, we are putting something, whatever the original agreement was, we are putting something that wasn't initially agreement into people's backyards. Again, we do have responsibilities to the people that live here and the quality of their life as best we can. So it's struggle enough financially to make it work. Quality of life depends on a lot more. If this was a smaller concept, I would have no issue. But clearly there are concerns. And if anybody uses the term NIMBY, I would say to you, fair enough, it's not NIMBY. So it's no concern to you. But we do have a quality of life concern for people that live here. So it's not an issue saying it's not for us. And that's the difficulty in dealing with matters like this. Yes, affordable housing, it is an issue. And I would like to see more of it in the community. What it actually looks like causes us to pause and think what it actually means to people living. Thank you.
Councillor Waterfield.
Madam Mayor, I will be supporting this motion. We as a country and as a province are in the middle of a housing crisis. And I think it's important that all of us at all levels of government do the best we can with the tools we can to help alleviate this crisis. I understand that there are some residents in the area that have difficulty with this. However, I am confident that Carabridge will work closely along with the Samira organization with residents. And I think at the end of the day, this will be a win-win for all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah,
So twice tonight, I've heard there was never a plan for an apartment building in this area, but there was. The original plan for this area is an apartment building. And this was the beginning of when this whole process started, why I was against this whole idea. I was quite aware, because I sat on council at the time, there was a plan for an apartment building on this site. I did meet with a couple of residences and a group of residents, and I certainly understand their trepidation. And that's why I have difficulty with the whole project. I have difficulty about how we got to where we are today. And I'm not identifying any individuals or groups or whatever we have, but I really have concerns after listening to the recent changes in the Planning Act in Ontario, is that we don't start dealing with things right now, the residents are not even going to have a chance to speak about this in the future. This is about the only chance I see the residents in the neighborhood are going to have a chance to come forward, because once the Planning Act changes again, they're not even going to have a chance to speak to these things. So ignore it now, when it comes back in 2 years or a year and a half or 3 years, the residents are not going to have any chance to have a voice in this. So we have to move forward, at least let them have a chance to have their concerns viewed, and let the developers listen to them. Because again, whatever my personal feelings are about affordable housing and how much the town should be involved in it and everything else is beside the point, but the legal advice I received and everything else is, as a counselor, I can't vote against this stuff. So you have to sort of remove your personal feelings from things like this and say, you know, It's, you know, I feel.
Councilor McRae?
To you, Madam Chair. This whole discussion hits a real chord with me. Affordable housing. Because I'm living through it right now. And what I see happening in this community is I see buildings being sold to investors who then jack up the rents. An example, my apartment was 1,400. In a year's time, it will be up at close to 2,400. And I can only imagine people in situations where they are below the living income, how they are struggling and attempting to try to find a place to live here in Perth. So it's, you know, when people talk about, you know, take your emotions out of it, I'm trying to do that as a counselor. But I'm getting also emails from people who have no idea where they're going to live in a couple of months here in Perth. And it really scares me when I go to places like Tim Hortons and there's people living in their vehicles. And there's people living in the kiosks at the BMO and they're chased out and then they go to another bank. And last summer, people living along the railway lines here. We might not think it's there, but believe me, you know, in the town, in the city, it's much more apparent. But it is here in Perth as well. So my heart goes out for affordable housing, and I feel strongly that we need to move forward on this project. And I agree with our deputy mayor and Councillor Bolt on this item.
Councilor Smith?
I think we all agree on affordable housing that it's needed. We're not discussing whether it's a good or bad thing. We all know it's good. What we're discussing now is 63 Alton Street. Let's vote.
Thank you. I just want to say that I won't be supporting this motion. It is a need in the community. There was a woman at a meeting that left partway through because she was so angry that this might not possibly happen. She had grown up poor, and she said this is something we absolutely need in Perth. So I will call a question. Councillor Bird?
Yes, I will be brief as I make it with the chair. I think if I can explain myself, the issue I am having in everything that we look at in development is the difference between a structure and density. It's density we will be dealing with a lot. And that quite often density has a detrimental effect on communities. And I'll leave it at that. I agree with the need for affordable housing. It's obvious that we need it in the town. And the market is not that means we have to create it in some other form. I'm just concerned about the density. So I will be keeping a very careful eye as it progresses that there is cooperation and understanding between the parties.
Okay. I will now call a question. Those in favor of the motion? Okay. And those opposed? 2 opposed. Thank you. Let's proceed to the committee reports. First is myself, and the deputy mayor can chime in if I leave anything out. There was a presentation from the acting director of Lanark Lodge, and she gave a bunch of statistics. One was that there are 37,000 people that staff in Ontario is $37,000 people short. That's how critical the shortage of healthcare workers is. And some counselors said, well, okay, so you're short, yeah, no worries, but I don't think they realize that when staff is working short, someone could lie in their diaper for a couple of hours before be changed. I'll stop there. Did you have anything to add, Deputy Mayor?
No, just that she gave a very thorough report on the operations of Leonard Lodge, and yes, it's 37,000 shortage of personal support workers and RPNs in the province. And Leonard Lodge is not immune to that. Leonard Lodge has significant number of staff shortages. So they are concerned about the effect on the resident care, and they've been taking measures almost to the point of ignoring some of the jobs that should be getting done so they can focus specifically on the care of the residents directly and try and meet the 4-hour stated goal of the province. So there's some things aren't getting done, but not in regards to patient care, but in other administrative tasks and things like that.
Thank you. So the next one is the hospital board. Main thing that I had the finance committee meeting last week. The presenter was Suzanne Rintoul, who's the acting director of the seniors activity center. And you may have heard that the 3 clinics in town were awarded $3.1 million to expand on the number of services that they offer. So I've asked Suzanne Rintoul to be here to make a presentation in more detail on how that's going to roll out. Climate Change Advisory Panel. Councilor Smith.
Yeah, I attended that meeting on February 15th, April 18th, and May 16th. The most interesting thing was our fire chief, Trevor Shelby, gave a presentation, and among the items in the presentation.
Councilor Smith. You're too far from the mic.
Yeah, our fire chief gave a presentation, and one of the interesting things that came out of that, he said that a group of firefighters did some door knocking in Perth to check on smoke detectors, and out of 260 homes where people answered the door, 80 of them were found to have fault with their smoke detectors. So obviously they've got a lot more to do and a lot more publicity to put out there to have people check their smoke detectors, even for batteries.
Thank you. And something else that the committee is allocating funds for is a draw for 72-hour kits that can enter online. And yeah, the next one is Leonard County OPP Detachment Board.
So Leonard County OPP Detachment Board is still we're together. There's 8 municipal representatives on it. We've all municipalities except one now in Leonard County have passed the motion to reduce the current board size from 20 to 12, even though we haven't met yet as a board. We're still waiting on further direction from the provincial government. We don't have any provincial reps and we don't have any community reps so far picked because we're still waiting on that. I'm going to a meeting in Belleville on June 14th. It's called a Zone 2 Police Service Board meetings where the senior levels of the Solicitor General's office will be there to answer some questions, hopefully for us.
Thank you. And Heritage First Advisory Panel, Councilor Bird.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, Councillor Smith, I was absent from these meetings.
I attended the Heritage Birth Advisory Panel meeting on March 18th. The most interesting thing that came out of that was a description of the new Bachelor of Science Building Conservation Program. Apparently, it's the only one in Canada, or it's a first. On April 15th, there was a discussion on the Bridgemasters House history and the state of the building. One of the members of the Heritage Birth Advisory Panel is Jana Brett, who's a GM at the brewery, and she has had a lot of access into this building. She knows the state of it. It's good. I'm not sure if she said she had a key for it, but if she needs something, she's in touch with Parks Canada about it. And I think they may actually be trying to rent the building at this point to use as part of their patio. The Heritage Birth meeting scheduled for this morning was canceled due to lack of items for the agenda.
Thank you. So we'll proceed on to the striping committee. Councillor Bolt.
Your worship, so it's moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor McPherson. Proposed motion as recommended by the striking committee. Be it resolved that the council lieutenant appoint the following persons to the Daru Farm Working Group. Council appointees will be Councillor David Bird and Councillor Isabel and McCray. And citizen appointees will be Angela Cullen and John Pegg and Eric Ringer. As per the meeting on 7th of May 2022.
Okay, any discussion? Those in favor? Thank you. 13.7, the Lanark County Climate Action Working Group. Councilor Price, it's on that.
So Jasmine Ralph informed me that our next meeting is on June 13th, 2024. So there hasn't been a meeting since my last report. However, Lanark County Climate Change Work Group did promote and work alongside with the Climate Network Lanark to bring forward an Electrifying Lanark Forum, which was held last Saturday. It was excellent information. Scott Horton, who is the chair, Susan Brennan, and Sadie, what's her last name? Brulin, thank you. They basically were the organizers of this event. The first speaker was Ralph Torrey. He spoke on sustainable future economy. The second speaker was Steve Lapp, and it's called Doubling the Electricity we currently have in Ontario. It was followed by Art Hunter, who gave us to speak on the electric throttle for our energy transition, and he spoke a lot about community microgrids, which is a very interesting topic. And fourth was Marion Ski, I believe it is, from Ottawa Renewable Energy Co-op, and she spoke on investing in solar. I had to leave at 2 o'clock because I had other commitments. But there was also a talk on the Alamo battery energy storage system. And the other thing I just wanted to bring forward, if anybody would be able to replace me at the meeting on June 13th, I would appreciate that, because I will not be able to make that meeting due to health reasons. So maybe, Judy, you could attend that meeting, or a member of our own municipal climate change group.
Thank you. I'll talk to you about that afterwards.
Okay.
And you're also up for the BIA.
So the business improvement next meeting is the last Wednesday of the month, so that's May the 29th at 8 a.m. At this time, the last minutes of the previous meeting will be approved, and then I will be in a position to share more information in regards to that. Joanna Baus gave the town a Perth development project update for 2024. Kelsey Dole attended the Ontario BIA Association Conference, April the 28th to May the 1st in Mississauga. And as she is at present updating the website directory and looking at revising procedural bylaws as it pertains to associate members. If approved, our boundaries will be a little larger, expanding our ability to incorporate more businesses in the BIA. As a follow to that, I sit on the promotional committee, and we have the kickoff to summer coming up on June 8th from 1 to 4. And they are seeking sponsorship. It's well underway, and they're working with the Stewart Park Festival on a fundraiser the same evening at Crystal Palace. The theme is Motown Dance Heat Wave. Tickets are $30. And they're working on circulating their map, which is like the brochure of the events from now up until the holiday season. It's ready to be circulated.
I have a question, if I may.
Okay.
If I may, through the chair. In relation to the kickoff to summer, I see it requires sponsors, so I'm sure I can cover that. There seems to be a lot going on. It's from 1 to 4 in the afternoon,
Yes,
and do they hire volunteers like Maplefest does? Have with road closures? And
they're always looking for volunteers. Can I put your name forward? That'd be great.
Thank you. And the change of comments.
Okay, run a roll here. Perth and District Chamber of Commerce, the next meeting is tomorrow at noon at the factory, May the 22nd, 2024. The last meeting was the AGM, which a number of our staff and our mayor attended. And at that time, we had a presentation by Toby Shannon, who was a guest speaker. I think I've already reported on some of this at the last meeting. Tomorrow we'll focus on our strategic planning, and the latest minutes will be circulated and approved and then become public. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, the library board, Councilor Waterford.
Madam Mayor, I've not prepared any specific highlights for either the library board or the Green Valley Conservation Authority. I just want to share that I attended the first meeting of the Lanark County Traffic Advisory Working Group late last week. The minutes have yet to be approved, so I will not share the highlights from that, but certainly the initial experience of working with a county group and meeting fellow councilors from across the county and discussing some of the challenges that we'll be discussing in the group certainly was very interesting, and I think I'm going to enjoy the experience.
Okay, and, Rita Valley?
I've prepared no specific highlights.
There was them, okay, thank you. Okay, so there's a proposed motion, Councilor McCray. It's 13.12.
Yeah, can you move the screen up so I can read that, please? Okay. Be it resolved that the council of the town of Perth receive the council committee, local board, and external board reports, minutes as presented.
Thank you. Those in favor? See there it is. So are there any questions from the media before we go into closed session? Hearing none. No, seeing none. So we're about to go into closed session. There is a motion by Councilor Bird.
Thank you, Chair. Moved by myself, seconded. That the council of the town of Perth resolve itself into closed session at 6:17 p.m. pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, and so 2001 C25, as amended subsection from 239, for the following purposes: 1. Litigation of potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, subsection 249 2D. Legal update, Ontario Law Tribunal case number OLT 23-000534, IBAN, brackets per GC Limited, appeals for the proposed plan of subdivision. 2. Personal matter about an identified individual, subsection 23 239 2B, CAO 2022 performance review. And 3, education and training profession, subsection 239(3.1), code of conduct.
Thank you. Those in favor? Paul, did you have a question?
So just, I'm gonna declare a conflict of interest in the closed session when item number 1 comes up, the OT case with Kai Van, and the reason for that is because my son owns property adjacent to Peter Street.
Thank you, Chair. Again, getting there myself. Apparently, it's all the time, but again, I will have to, in closed session, declare conflict with, in relation to, fact that I have a social, connection to one of the owners of the group.
Okay, so those in favor, those voting? Okay, unanimous.
Okay, so we're due to technical issues again, we're gonna remain in here in camera, so if you're not in this meeting, then ask you to step into the hall until we're done.